Hello students, we are going to learn today the most important chapter of automata theory, that's Turing machine. In this first video lecture, we will be learning the introductory part of Turing machine. We will be covering the definition, the formal definition of Turing machine, and the very important part called as Turing machine as language acceptor. Till now we have DFA. What is a PDA? You know that DFAs are used to accept or recognize regular languages, whereas PDAs are used to recognize free languages. But there are many languages which are context sensitive, as well as there are a variety called as recursively enumerable languages. The machines called as DFAs and PDAs cannot be used or are not sufficient to recognize these languages, and hence we need a more powerful machine called as Turing machine. This machine was formulated by Alan Turing. So you can see here Mr. Alan Turing. It was invented by Alan Turing in 1936. It's a simple mathematical model of a machine, but it is very powerful. It can do anything that a human being can think of. It is capable of performing calculations apart from acting as a language acceptor. As I said, you can see this diagram where regular languages will be accepted by finite automata. Context-free languages, the example is A raised to n, B raised to n. If you remember, we had constructed a PDA for this. But if the language is A raised to n, B raised to n, C raised to n, how would you design a PDA for this? It's not capable of remembering how many A's you have counted, how many B's you have, and how many C's you have. You cannot confirm the number of A's, B's, and C's is exactly same, and A's are followed by B's and followed by C's. So hence we need to use a powerful machine called as Turing machine. Now what makes Turing machine more powerful than PDAs? In PDAs we organize a memory in the form of a stack where you can only push and pop the contents. But whereas in Turing machines you have unlimited infinite memory, but it is not organized in the form of a stack, but it is organized in the form of a linear array. It's a simple linear tape. This tape, you can write these contents onto the tape, you can read the contents from the tape, as well as you can erase the contents from the tape. In order to read, write, and erase the contents, you have a provision of tape head. And the very important feature is this tape head can move one position towards right or left, or it can remain stationary. And since this facility is available in Turing machines, it is possible to accept such kind of context sensitive as well as recursively enumerable languages with Turing machines. If you can see this Venn diagram, in this Venn diagram, regular languages is the innermost part. The superset of it is context-free languages, and the superset of it is the Turing machines. That means a Turing machine can be designed for a regular language, also for a context-free language, as well as for context-sensitive languages. So no wonder if in exams you are asked a question, given a regular expression, draw a Turing machine, or given a context-free language, draw a Turing machine. Now let us start learning, or let us view the diagram of a Turing machine model. You can see the linear tape. Capital B on this tape stands for a blank. Initially the tape will hold all the blanks, and you can see the cell is divided, the entire tape is divided into cells. The pointer is called as the read-write head. You have a finite control which is capable of remembering what is the name of the current state, what symbol the machine is reading, and where will the tape head move, whether to the left or right, or will it remain stationary. So the contents or the string or the input data can be written on this tape in the form of symbols. So here in the diagram, x1, x2 up to xn, all these are the symbols written onto the tape. The blank can be written or represented in a variety of ways. Few authors use capital B, few use a delta symbol, few use a diamond shape. So there can be a variety of special characters which can be used to represent a blank symbol. So to formally define a Turing machine according to your textbook, you can read this definition. A Turing machine is a 5-tuple mathematical model of a machine. You all are aware of these 5 tuples. Capital Q stands for the set of states. But apart from the set of states that you have, you will notice there is something new here. One called as HA and the other called as HR. HA stands for halt with acceptance and HR stands for halt with rejection. Now what is halt with acceptance and rejections? If you remember in DFAs and PDAs, we used to draw certain states as accepting states with double circles. So instead of representing variety of or multiple accepting states with double circles, we have here a provision of halt with acceptance, a single state whose name will be HA, and similarly another state for halt with rejection. So after performing its processing, the machine will halt either by accepting the string or rejecting the string, and depending on it, it will either land in HA or HR. You all know what is sigma, the set of input alphabets on which the entire language is defined. Tau is a set of tape alphabets. If you remember in PDAs, we used to call this as the stack alphabets. But here, since there is no stack, it's a linear tape, we call them as tape alphabets. This is a finite set naturally. These symbols cannot be infinite in number. But remember, the blank is an additional symbol which is used. Q0 is the initial state which every machine has, and you know it's always unique. And the most important part of your machine, the transition function. If you look at a single transition in a Turing machine, involves these entities. The first is the state Q. Then we have what is called as the tape alphabet that the machine is reading, and then the machine lands into another state. When it lands into another state, it could be one of the states in Q or an halt with acceptance or rejection. Then the tape alphabet that you have already read may be erased, may be overwritten, depending upon the strategy of the machine. And then the tape head either may move one position towards right, left, or stationary. So again I repeat, what is it? The current state, then the current input symbol the machine is reading, then we have in the sequence the next machine they land into, or the state the machine lands into, the new symbol to be written or erased, or the action to be performed, and then the direction in which the tape head moves. So this is the transition function of your Turing machine. Next we have is a simple diagram depicting how exactly this read, write, and the moves take place. So if you look at the example here, at time 0, the tape head is pointing to the character or the symbol A. At the time 1, what has happened? The machine has finished reading A. It has overwritten your A with a different symbol K, and now the tape head has moved one position towards left. So this is how we can describe one transition in a PDA. This is also called as how a Turing machine moves in one instance. So it is also called as instantaneous description of a Turing machine. Another diagram here you can see you have an entire tape divided into cells. Now here a blank symbol is represented with a different character, but the most important part is you can see the entire string which is written onto the tape. It's ABAC. And to notice, the tape head is always placed at the leftmost position of the input string. You can also see another diagram which shows a single typical transition in a Turing machine. How do you describe this? So look at the diagram. You can see here. What is it? The machine is in which state? It is in Q1. Machine reads the symbol A which is onto the tape. It replaces A with B, and then in the first diagram it moves the tape head towards left and then lands into the state Q2. And in the second one you can see it replaces A with B and moves the tape head towards right. So this is how you can diagrammatically or pictorially represent a transition in a Turing machine. Now look at this. Turing machines are deterministic. You have heard of the terms deterministic finite automata, non-deterministic finite automata, and you know that when I call it as non-deterministic, then for the same symbol from the same state you can have multiple transitions. But here when we are talking of Turing machine, we are going to strictly draw all the deterministic Turing machines. So you can see what is allowed and what is not allowed. If you look at in the first part, we have here the diagram representing the state Q1, where you can see the machine may read the symbol A, it will replace A with B and move towards right. That is, the tape head will move towards right and the machine will land into the state Q2. Whereas being in the same state Q1, if the machine reads the symbol B, it will replace it with D and then move the tape head towards left and land into the state Q3. But if you look at the second diagram, where what do you observe? Yes, Q1 has two transitions, one landing into Q2 and Q3. But if you observe carefully, both the transitions are for the same symbol A. In one case, A is replaced by B and the tape head moved towards right. And in the second, A is replaced by D and moved towards left. So again, there is a confusion whether A should be replaced with B or with D. That means there are two transitions for the same symbol from the same state. And that's what is called as non-determinism. So we are not going to allow non-determinism in Turing machine, but we are strictly going to discuss all the deterministic Turing machines. Now sometimes these machines may halt after finishing their processing, but sometimes the machines may not halt. They may get stuck into an infinite loop, or there could be a configuration where the machine may not be able to proceed further. In this case, we assume that the machine halts into an rejecting state, or what is called as HR. So you can observe these diagrams here. Machine is in which state? Q1. Machine reads the symbol A and B, or rather I would say at a time only one symbol, that is A or B. If the machine is in state Q1, it may read A, replace it with B and move the tape head towards right, or it may read B and replace it with D and move the tape head towards left. But if you look at the tape hand, what should have happened here? Yes, Q1 shows in the diagram the transitions for A and for B, but it isn't showing a transition for C. So there's no possible transition, and hence the machine doesn't know. So remember, in these cases, the machine is in a confused state or the machine may crash. Moving ahead, if you look at the final state can be shown like this. You can also double circle it, but you cannot have an outgoing transition, or you cannot extend your machine from the accepting states, or rather you can say halt with acceptance is your ultimate end. Now, how to accept a language, or if you talk of a Turing machine as an language acceptor, if you look at this definition carefully, or acceptance by Turing machine. If you remember, when we designed DFAs and PDAs, we used to read the entire string, and then only we used to take the decision whether the string is accepted or rejected. Exactly in the same way, here also the entire string is read, and then we check whether after reading the entire string, is the machine in which state? Yes, the state halt with acceptance. If you find that after reading the entire string, the machine is in which state? HA, that is halt with acceptance, you say that the string X is accepted. So you can see here the machine is in which state? The initial state Q. The machine is in initial state Q0. Then we have a blank symbol followed by X, which is the string. This content is stored onto the tape. Capital T stands for the transitions in Turing machines, and the star transitions depending upon after you halt with acceptance. If this is the case, your string is said to be accepted. Okay, now here, if you look at a Turing machine, a very first basic example, we have been provided with a regular expression A closure. So you can see at the machine below, you can start reading the A's. There's nothing much to be counted or to be checked about. You have to simply go on reading the tape contents. If you have all A's, then the string should be accepted. So what's the strategy? Start reading from the leftmost end, go on reading the A's, and keep on moving ahead. So ahead direction. So if you keep on moving towards right, how will the transition look like? Read A, replace A with A, and move in the right direction. So this is how it looks. Replace A with A and move towards right, and ultimately when you reach the extreme rightmost end, you will encounter a blank. Keep that blank as it is, and either you can remain stationary or you can move towards left or towards right. But you know that you have reached the extreme right end of the string only after you have reached the blank symbol. So you can see here the tape contains 3 A's, and if you start reading from the leftmost end, read the first A, move towards right. Read the second A, move towards right. Read the third A, move towards right, and ultimately when you reach the last blank, you halt and land into the accepting state. Here the name of the accepting state is Q1. In the next example, if you see, the string is ABA. You read the first A, move towards right. Now read the next B and move towards left. So this is how a variety of transitions take place. Now dear students, we have learnt the basics of, or the definition of Turing machine, how and what a Turing machine has. So what are the important components of it? The tape divided into cells, the tape head. You have also seen how to draw the transition diagrams, and how a Turing machine makes a moves or the transition in a Turing machine. We will be designing few more Turing machines in the upcoming lectures. Till then, thank you.